Welcome to the Are You Mad at Me podcast. I'm Josh Morgan.
I'm Vicky Morgan. Welcome to episode 32.
32.
Crazy town. Love it. Love it.
I wanted to make sure that Vicky had her tea right up to her mouth when I started talking.
Yeah. That's health and safety.
I think it worked.
I think that we should go to the board and say that is 0 days without tomfoolery.
0, yeah. We are back. We are reset.
We're reset. Thanks for listening for, well, you haven't done episode 32 yet, but we appreciate the first 31 episodes that you listened to.
That's like 2 whole years.
Okay, we're going to work on math later. I got a lot in the hopper today. I feel really good. I feel like, all right. I mean,
if this is our weekly therapy session, feeling good is probably not the way you want to start off. Don't you want to come down here all full of angst?
No, it'll only get better. That's the beautiful thing about podcasts is that we're all along for the journey, and I got a whole bunch of. I had a good week. How was your week?
So far, so good.
Okay. Well, we're counting down. We're recording this the day before Canada Day, so happy Canada Day to all all those who celebrate.
Your question was confusing because it is Monday. So, like, how was your week?
I don't know. Since last fucking Monday.
Since the last time we did this. It's the first day of the week.
Should we start over?
Yeah.
Okay. How has your week been since in the last 7-day period?
Are you mad at me?
I'm getting there. Anyway, congratulations to Josh for designing these awesome mugs.
Yeah, we made some stuff.
So tell me about your week.
So
I know about your week because I was here, but tell your fans,
the audience,
tell your fans and your legions of fans.
I mean, we made some stuff. We made some T-shirts and some mugs and some buttons. Some merch for your new book.
Yeah.
How to be a famous sexy writer.
Yeah. And
so we made these mugs.
Yep.
That say famous sexy writer.
It's got this little cursor here. I'm doing this in reverse because the camera's, where is it? The cursor's right over here.
There you go.
Yeah. Cursor's right here because, like when you're looking at a computer screen and your cursor's blinking and it's like.
Typey.
And it's, accusing you of being a fraud and probably a hack, and nobody would ever want to read this. That's what the cursor says sometimes. And sometimes it says, come on, famous sexy writer, what have you got? What have you got to share with the world?
What about this? What about, how like when you start a new project, it's like staring at the blank page and just a little flashing cursor? What if it's like you always have those 3 words to start off? Famous sexy writer. So it's never a blank page. It's that. And then your cursor.
That.
What do you think of that?
What would a famous sexy writer?
I just thought of that just now.
That's a really good idea. You should start off every document with that.
Famous sexy writer.
And if some of it gets left in to your final draft, that's okay too. You can put me on as a co-writer.
A couple weeks ago, we made we were going to make some Are You Mad at Me merch, and I made this. I made this mug, which has cartoon versions of the 2 of us.
Why are you putting it in front of me?
Because I can't turn my hand because it's on the other side of the mug. I'm showing it to the camera.
Unfortunate.
And
it's a good mug.
It's funny looking little cartoons, but we did another one with photographs of us.
And that is on the way to a podcast guest, and we hope she likes it. I'm a little concerned.
About what?
Well, so this one side of the mug says, Jesus laid this on my heart, because apparently I say that a lot. And on the other side of the mug, it has Josh's face saying, so nothing happened. And I would be afraid that somebody would read those together and think that it's a conversation and not just our catchphrases. So they're catchphrases.
They're on opposite sides of the mug.
Not a conversation. They might as well be worlds apart because we never say those things together.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
They're just catchphrases from our podcast.
So we did another version. Josh did another version of that mug with our actual faces on it. And
with photographs. And I just traced the photographs for this one. I didn't actually draw us, but, I'm working on my design skills.
Yeah. We have nowhere to sell merch. So that's kind of funny. Like we're not on. I think there's like Printify or T-shirt Frenzy or something like that. There's a few places that you can put like your own T-shirt designs but people have to buy them. Like they're like $35 to order from there. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy, and people have to find them in the first place.
I like making stuff, and I love going to Michael's. So I think I might just order a whole bunch of Gildan 100% cotton T-shirts and just have a stock of them in different sizes. And if somebody wants one, we can. Because to mail it out is like $5, so it'd be like an extra $5 on top of whatever.
The goal for this week was to clear out some of our stock because we got a bunch of T-shirts packed away. We got a bunch of blank mugs. We had a whole bunch of buttons that we don't really make, so we printed off. We got some Are You Mad at Me buttons too. Yeah.
So basically, that means I don't like looking at the monitor.
So stop.
I don't love the monitor. Can we put something over it? Ugh. Anyway, for people who are listening, this is not for you. This is the actual video feed, and Josh has the laptop set up in front of us because we're on the couch together. Hey, cheers!
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Woohoo!
Clink.
Clink. We'll add that in post. So yeah, we do a video feed because when you're doing a podcast, it apparently reaches more people when there's a video component, because then it gives you the opportunity to post it somewhere with the video also.
And you saw a podcast the other
Marketing
day
tip number 1
that had shorts, like little short videos,
I don't know if I can
video
talk about
form. Like, so we cut our podcast into little short videos and use those for promotion on social media. You saw some of those from somebody else's podcast.
Yes.
With the video of the podcast, and then their actual podcast was just audio.
Very disappointing.
It was like, if you had the video for these, it's just easier, I guess.
Okay, normally I wouldn't care, but it was a podcast with Nate Bargatze on it, and he is shooting a movie now. Shooting a movie right now. I've been running syllables together all week. I don't know what's going on, if I had a stroke or something, but Nate Bargatze is doing a movie with Mandy Moore. And it was like the first week of shooting, and they interviewed him, and the clips from it were fantastic. They were so nice, and it was only like a 45-minute podcast. So I was like, yeah, I found a 45...
The clips from the podcast were nice, yeah.
The clips from the podcast were video. And so I went to there, followed the links, did all my homework, and I carved out 45 minutes when I knew could actually sit down and listen to it, and it was a black screen. And I was like, oh, there must be something wrong with our internet. Like, I called Josh, and I was like, did we pay our internet bill? And it was, so I reloaded it and went back through the whole process again, and it was still black screen. So I sent a message to them. I didn't want to put anything on their podcast because I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
So I messaged them and I said, I'm really disappointed that you don't have the video. Clearly you have the video because your shorts had video, and I'm just disappointed. They didn't respond, so I'm not impressed with that. And
they're like, yes, we know we don't have video.
It was, and I also said, as a podcaster, I'm not sure why you wouldn't use it if you have it. And so maybe they've got some kind of magic formula that they know about, that it's better to not, I don't know. But it was a little disconcerting because I went there expecting to see up to date. Like, I didn't even listen to it. That's how
it threw you.
Disappointed I was, because I was thrown. Yeah, and I should have just listened to it. But I spent about 35 minutes checking all the links and sending an email. So that was my 45 minutes that I had carved out, so I missed it. I'll have to wait till that comes through again. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, video, podcasting. Marketing tip number 1. If you're sitting here anyway, just prop a camera up. It can be a phone. It doesn't need to be big. You don't even need to save the files. You can just upload it and walk away. You can delete it off your phone afterwards.
Yeah. We've been watching,
or your camera.
We've been watching Mark Maron's old show from 10 years ago, and where he does like a fictionalized version of his own podcast there in his show, but it's in his podcast, his actual real life podcast is long form. Yes. It's usually like 2.5, 3.5 hours, like Joe Rogan. Like, they're
Are you
really
sure it's
long.
that long?
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've only listened to a couple, but
I love that.
And he doesn't do any video.
And he just announced that he's finishing up this year. This is the last season. So I bought a book on Amazon. And I don't know why. I went down a rabbit hole. I don't remember how I got there, but I ended up buying this book, and I think it's called So You Want to Start a Podcast. I don't recommend it. That's not an endorsement. And I bought it on Kindle and looked through it and didn't enjoy it. And here's why. And I'm not going to leave a review on our page, or whoever the person is. This is just between us and our fives and fives of listeners. Mm-hmm. It was very wordy. It took a long time to get to the point, and the biggest problem that I had with it was it was written from the perspective of someone who works in radio and had a big radio job and was talking down to the little people, saying, if you're going to pitch an idea, and it was like, what are you talking about? That's not podcasting. And it was, when Miranda Sings did that thing with Jerry Seinfeld, and she was like, the best way to get famous is to be born famous.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that. It was like, if you're in radio and you can pitch to these people, and here's how you make money. And she was talking about all these folks who make a lot of money, who were already celebrities, and that's how they had a following. And it was like, how is this accessible to anybody? And my least favorite part, what's the opposite of least favorite? What's the opposite of favorite? The worst part of the book was in the beginning, she said, I'm not going to get into gear and stuff. Why would you call it podcast guide? I just didn't. I think it was. Yeah. I guess I was doing research, because the next phase for me would be, after doing all the self-publishing stuff, the guides or whatever, would be the next step is doing audiobook, and then of course right next door to audiobooks is a podcast, because if you've already got the gear and you learned how to do the files for an audiobook, a podcast is like a really great way to market your books. But I was really disappointed, and it was a very long book. Lots of chapters, lots of stories about her. Great, great, great. Call it a memoir. Like, it's not a guide, because it's very, I mean, if you're already in radio, why would you need to know how to do any of that? I just didn't like it, and I was worst $3 I ever spent. Yeah, that's right. That rent was over $3.
$3. So, was there much in there? Was there anything in there about gear?
Nothing.
Because I feel like
sorry, I skipped over that part, because when she said she wasn't going to talk about it, it was something about you know, I don't know. She alluded to the editing and stuff, and she said you can find out how to edit online from a YouTube video. Like, honey, can you not do a little bit of research? So clearly she didn't do her own editing. She didn't know about gear, and she was in a position where somebody was handing her money to do a podcast, and that is just not the landscape. I don't know what year the book came out. And I think it was probably, I was doing a little bit of research to see what was out there and available. And it was the one that first came in. It was the first, top of the, it had lots of reviews. A lot of people had bought it maybe because it was $3, but it was very disappointing. Which also tells me there's a market for stuff in plain language. I mean, I would probably defer to you a lot to say, how do you do the editing and all those things? Because I don't, I know there's some standards and things like that and rates and stuff that I don't understand. So I would probably have your help. I would probably get your help to do the technical part of it. But to make podcasting inaccessible like that was like, ugh, yuck. And I'm not going to leave a bad review. I'm not going to give her low stars or nothing like that.
Scrolling.
Just keep on rolling. But I know that, I don't know, there might be a market. And maybe it would help me to see, to write down what the whole process is, to kind of, it's just the next thing that Jesus laid on my heart was a podcast and an audiobook. And I don't know if they're two separate books or if they're one because it's all audio production. But then it's also if you get into that sort of stuff, you can do voiceover work and you can narrate people's books. So it's a couple of different things
having a way to produce clear audio with no background noise opens up several doors.
Yeah. I mean, you're not producing music from Michael Jackson or Taylor Swift. It's like audio. It needs to sound good, no noise in the background, good clear. And you want to at least somewhat enjoy the sound of your own voice. So different microphones will make you sound different. There's a few, some of the electric ones or digital. Help me out here. What are they called? Condensers. No, is it condensers?
Like USB mics, you mean?
No, like the Blue Yeti is one. It's it digitizes everything. So are these condenser mics?
These are condenser mics, but that's a different thing.
So there's an SM58 that actually has a magnetic coil in it.
Those are dynamic mics.
Dynamic mics.
Yeah.
And what are the other ones called?
Condensers.
Okay. So condensers are a lot of digitization of voices, and I find they make me kind of sound a little nasal and tinny. But I like the SM58s, the ones that we use on stage, because they're, I don't know. And it depends, but you got to try them out, is what I'm saying, is try out Long and McQuaid is really good for renting stuff to you. You can go up and get stuff for a month and try it. Actually, if you take it back the same week, they're pretty good about, giving they won't charge you for the whole month or whatever. But it's a good idea to actually try the mics out, record a minute or so of reading, grab a book off the shelf and read from it, and see what your voice sounds like. Because if you really hate it, it might not just be the sound of your voice. It could be the microphone.
Yeah.
And some mics will make your voice sound very warm. Yes, I would buy something from that person, and it's important. But
and
just to skim over it.
That can be done in editing to make your voice sound warmer or more bass or less bass. Or
see, that's where I don't know how to do any of that. So I would hate to puff myself up and say, oh, I can do a podcast, because I can't. I didn't do the production with the radio show either. So, but again, as a team, because we have co-written the last few books, maybe we could look at that as you could work on the gear stuff, and I could talk about someone gave me a review today on the book and told me it was half guide and half psychoanalysis. So okay. I'll take that. There was a little bit of woo-woo stuff in there, and that's okay.
So it's self-analysis?
No, psychoanalysis is what he called it. And I know what he meant. It was a little psychological. And I think when I had a producer many, many years ago for music, it wasn't many, it was less than a decade, but what he said to me when we were doing music together was, my job as a producer is 90% psychological. It's not the technical stuff, a lot of people can do, but the psychological stuff is coaching you when you feel shitty and, building you back up and that sort of stuff and telling you can do it. And he was wonderful, absolutely wonderful with that stuff. And it was worth the extra.
I feel like that's your job when we help people publish their books. I think maybe you should put producer in your title, self-publishing producer, because it's a lot of no, this is good, your voice is good, don't let somebody change what you're trying to say. You know what I mean? Like a lot of support
Authentic.
and encouraging.
Keeping people's voices in there.
Yeah.
I saw it the other day. Someone called me a publisher. And I'm not a publisher. I don't publish books. I help you format your file so that you can self-publish. I'm not a publisher. I don't judge the quality of their manuscript. I don't edit any of that stuff. I think I'm more of a formatter. As far as coaching, like how do you put that on a resume? Like I'm a coach,
Consultant.
and then there's like that life coach idea of. I don't know that I'm ready to put that out there for anybody either. Like I when I look at life coaches, I really see, like, are they together? Like, do they have a life that I want to emulate? And if they don't, then, why? And if they're expensive. So I don't know. Anyway, still don't know what to call myself, but all that to say, we might work on a podcast and audiobook next.
Yeah. Audiobook book.
Audiobook book and a podcast book. Because it is a really great marketing tool, and like the slow burn. And I mean, one thing I did take out of that book was that of all the podcasts that are out there in podcast land, 16% of them don't make it past episode 9.
9?
Those are pretty like unique numbers, right? 16%. So that means whatever that is, take, what is it, 84, right? So 84, I don't know what happens to the other 84, but sorry, the other 84 don't make it past episode 9.
So only 16% make it past episode 9.
Only 16% go past episode 9. So, and it was like there was a little bit of stuff in there. Now that I think about it, maybe we should take that part out about it. Because it was actually like pretty decent psychologically. She was talking a lot about like, you really need a lot of love. You need to have, like, pick a topic that you can go to distance with and that you're not going to get bored with and that you can show up for, and, those sort of. So she had like these real quirky kind of ideas of reviewing other people's stuff and talking about food. And her podcast is actually about her and her co-host pick up a different self-help book, and then for 2 weeks follow to the letter what's in the self-help books, and then they come back and talk about any change, like, how their lives have gone. So that's kind of interesting. So I, shout out to that. I might go check that out after we're finished tonight, because
I don't know if I could finish a book in 2 weeks. I'm a very slow reader.
Oh God, self-help books are like, yep, done that, and you kind of thumb through the stuff, and I don't know, except for Julia Cameron's book, which is It'll Change Your Life, and it really did. So anyway, big
I don't
fan.
think that's a self-help book.
It's a self-help book for artists who feel like they're blocked, or who feel like they have defined themselves as non-artists, and because there's an artist in everybody, and that book unlocks that. I've read all the self-help books. I don't think there's any out there that I haven't been given, which is kind of an interesting gift, or bought for myself. I'm very familiar with the self-help section in the bookstores, which, very proud to say, I'm also in the bookstores. Not in the self-help section, but the new book is in it's on the list for business humor. And guess who else is on that list? Sarah Cooper. Sarah Cooper, love her, who was doing funny impressions of Donald Trump during his first term. Did I talk about this last week?
I think so.
Oh my God, I'm starting to repeat myself, and I don't even realize it. Anyway, on the same list as Sarah Cooper, which I think is pretty great.
That's fantastic.
And it's been kind of fluctuating, so it's on the creativity self-help section on Amazon. So anyway, go check it out. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and I was in a Rats last week, and went inside. I did a little reflection, did a lot of work, a lot of writing, and kind of came out the other end of it with like, you know what? I got some ideas that I'm going to share on the podcast today, if you're ready for it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you ready?
I don't know. Should I go get should I refill my coffee?
Oh, I would. Get a couple of Quaaludes. I don't even know what they are, but I saw that in a show the other day. So here's the thought that I had. I'm just going to, in random order. There's no actual method to any of it, really. It's all just kind of crazy. I'm not sure if I'm having a breakdown or a breakthrough, because they feel kind of similar. Earlier today, I came to Josh, because that's how I bounce off. This is what I do with all my ideas. And so earlier this week, I also wrote a song. And so that's a good sign, because the ideas are still happening. I wasn't as exhausted as I thought. And I just took some time to rest and, relax my brain a little bit. And it really worked, because it's in there. But it is a different mindset to do marketing, to go from writing to the marketing part. It's a whole different thing. And maybe not everybody enjoys that part of it. I actually love marketing. I just hate doing it for myself. And the reason I hate doing it for myself is because it's hard. So anyway, came to some conclusions. Yeah. So basically it comes down to, if you were, and I feel like I have said this 100 times too, when you sit down with a marketing company, they're going to ask you a set of questions, or they should. They really should. Because essentially you should be able to tell your own story. of why you're doing whatever business it is, whether it's Nancy beekeeping or whether it's making cute little crafts in a little store in downtown St. John's and you get so popular with it that you have to rent space to do it, or whatever your thing is, graphic design or doing memorial videos for people or whatever. Lost my train of thought. It'll come back. Okay. So you should be able to articulate why you love what you're doing and why you started doing it in the first place. So I think once you get to a point where you're like, oh my God, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. There's no point. It's not going well. I'm not able to pay my bills the way I want to. Like, okay. But at some point you had a great idea. And so a good marketing company or marketing consultant or whatever would sit down and try to get you to articulate, because they don't know. No one's going to know your business better than you, right?
Right. So
it's tell me why your product, whatever it is, product or service, tell me why your product is the best in the world. It's a big lofty sentence, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, oh my God, I can't, why is mine? Yeah, but if you don't believe that, if you don't believe you're offering something to someone that is why now, and like that's the first thing. You should believe in what you're selling. Right?
Why would anybody buy your thing instead of
And it's a tough question, so I'm going to throw it over to you now because I feel like I've been talking a long time. Why would anybody, tell me why would somebody choose Josh Morgan to do their video editing? Why are you the best video editor for someone's next project? What do you bring to the table that's uniquely you? Oh man, this is good.
I don't think you should hire me.
Sweet Jesus.
I mean, so I would like, if somebody was looking for, I don't know. It's hard. That's a hard question to answer. Because like, what am I editing? You know what I mean?
Make it up.
Like if I'm doing.
This is meant to be a hard question, by the way. This is like your stumbling and stuff is exactly why it's so hard.
Yeah.
So rather than me, I'm going to put myself back in the hot seat in a minute, but tell me, like, I know why you're amazing. I know what somebody gets when they hire you. But like, if you don't believe it, you are walking through the world carrying this energy with you wherever you go. You just said, I don't think somebody should hire me. That's what you're broadcasting. No matter what you say on the surface or put on your website or put on your, business card, that's the energy you broadcast to the world and you carry around when we're in Costco, when we're in an Uber, when we're walking around a neighborhood. You're broadcasting, don't hire me. Don't hire me. I mean, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Ugh. That's what you're broadcasting. And that you can't fake energy. You can't, like, when someone's words don't match up with their presentation, like they're like, you don't believe something that's coming out of their mouth. No matter if that's what you believe, that's what you're broadcasting. So let's work on that. Let's talk about it. Come on. Let's dig in, because I had to do this week. So now let's throw it back to you, because at the end of the day, we are a team and we present ourselves as people who could take somebody's book, do the cover. We present ourselves for sure as people who could do a good job with other people's stuff. But like looking at a life coach, if we aren't together, if we don't believe in what we're doing, then why would anybody else trust us? So it's kind of a fluke sometimes, I think, that people hire us. It's kind of like someone else recommended us or whatever. But I think at the core, if we don't believe we're worthy or skilled enough to help somebody, then you're right. The world is going to say, you're absolutely right. You're not good enough. I will find somebody else to do it. So also a marketing person would say, okay, Josh, here's what I've seen when people hire you to do things. I've seen people come into our house with thumb drives full of pictures of their dead relative that they are crushed about, that they loved so much, and they were shocked at the thing, that the ultimate demise happened so soon or whatever. It doesn't matter what age this person is. It's always a shock when someone you love passes away.
Yep.
But what I see is that they come into our house and it's not like there are mechanical people who could put pictures together and put music behind it, and that's a technical skill. But what I hear is you sitting down in our living room, comfortably, distanced away from somebody, so you don't encroach on people's personal space. You're very mindful of personal space. You're not clammy or smarmy or anything like that, for one thing. So you're safe, I think. You're very understanding. You're very patient. You don't talk down to people when they don't understand how to get pictures off their phones or off their hard drives or from a photo album, or how to properly take the picture so that it can be, take a snapshot of picture that's in an album with
Yeah.
the glossy cover on it. Like, you're very patient with people. You're very what's the opposite of condescending? You're very empowering with people. You're very good at not making people feel stupid for what they don't know, and for not being a jerk about what you do know how to do. Like, you don't put yourself up like, well, I mean, I need to do this because you can't. So you meet people where they are. You're very efficient. You turn work around like lightning fast, and people are always shocked at how fast you're able to turn stuff around, because a lot of times people will give you a quote and give you this like big long period of time, and it's like, well, and we don't even understand why stuff takes so long, because like if you unless you have 100 clients that you're taking care of, why couldn't you turn it around so fast?
Yeah.
But that's not something that everybody offers. But also, you're very professional, very efficient, and very compassionate. I think that's what you bring to the table. So I'm going to ask you the question again, because getting comfortable saying those kinds of words about yourself that's half the challenge. So I'm going to ask you again, if somebody out there had a video project or a memorial or a legacy video that they want to put together, or they wanted a dance video edited and put together, why would they hire you rather than somebody else? What do you bring to the table?
So I'm going to take out of that. I think that I'm good with one-on-one service. Like, I'm not, overwhelmed with how many clients we have. We don't have 50 things going at once. If I'm dealing with somebody, I'm dealing with that person, and that's, so, I think that I'm also, I like having the opportunity to fix things to make it better for the person. Like, if I give somebody a draft and I say, like, let me know what you think, it's like, really tell me what you think so I can fix it, because I don't want you to be like, oh, it was terrible, he gave me something terrible, whatever. It's not what I was imagining at all. So I like getting feedback and fixing things to where somebody's happy. Okay,
that's good. So you're interested in people's satisfaction.
Yeah.
You're interested in the quality, and I think the one-on-one thing, I think you're like bang on about that. That's a really, and I did a shout out for you in the new book about that I when you did my last two covers, and when you did Tina's cover, and when you did Mike Boyle's cover, it was Tina Madigan. Sorry, not to exclude people from the conversation here. But it was the same thing. Like, when they had corrections and stuff, I don't enjoy that. I actually, especially when I'm doing something creative, for somebody to come back and say, I don't like this or this or this. Like, I don't take feedback well at all. That's not I don't enjoy that. So, but it's important when somebody's making something for you, and you're trying to bring a vision to life. You should be someone like you who can take the feedback and will listen and hear what they're saying and give them different options and say, well, did you mean this or this? Or, well, we can try it this way or this way. And I think people have been very happy with what you've done, and I've been very happy with your work.
Thank you.
It's a very special skill set. Not everybody's like that. Like, I know you came home with stories of people who had graduated from the same program you did, who were basically, put down in dungeons to work independently because they couldn't get along and they didn't like feedback and those sorts of things. So it's, that makes you unique. It also makes you unique that you can work remotely, that somebody from anywhere in the world can email files to you or use Google Drive or WeTransfer or any number of things, and you can do things from wherever you are.
Yeah.
So you're also really good at that remote handling of, it doesn't need to be somebody down the road that you had been, if somebody couldn't be in the city and pass you a thumb drive, you're really good at coaching people through. Henry is the same way. Henry's really good at doing like an online like screen share, and he'll say, click on this and move this to whatever, and he'll say, no, the wrong button on your mouse. Like, you both are very, very good at that. So that's what you bring to the table, right? So would that, if you were to develop a website right now, I mean, putting your own copy on there and describing what you do and why somebody should hire you is very hard. So without somebody to bounce ideas off of and say, here's what I think you bring to the table, now you put it in your words, that's an important part of the marketing process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I came up with this week about my own books, and this is important, and it's not about selling the books. I don't care if I ever sell a copy. It really is fallen in love with the stuff I've made, because when I made it, I loved it. And then looking at it like it's staring at me on the shelf like the snakes at Pee Wee Herman's pet store. Like, ooh, and you don't want to even talk about it. Like, I want to love the things that I've made. I don't care if anybody else likes it. Ultimately, I don't. It's really, I feel broken because I don't feel connected to the things that I've made. And it's mostly because it's not about sales or money. The books have done well, but it's like I wanted to reconcile with my own stuff because I have another one coming out and then another one and another one, and I'm talking about writing more. So
it's about your feelings and you feeling good about yourself and what you've made.
Yes.
Yeah.
And ultimately that comes out in. So I had a good few days of sitting down and going, okay, what like. Well, I mean, I went through days and days of being very angry too, at people who. I mean, it's called the "Are You Mad at Me" podcast, so it's I think it's kind of relevant. So today I'm all over the place, and that's okay. So I posted a video online earlier today. I put it together with Josh after a conversation with Josh, and I was like, you know what? Turn on the camera. I'm ready to roll. Didn't script anything. And Josh was like, do you want to put all that in? It seems like some of it you weren't really ready to say. And I'm like, no, that was actually the stuff I felt the best about, because it was stumbling over. Oh my God, should I say this? And so ultimately, what the video was that I posted today was. Josh made these shirts for me. Josh made mugs for me. And so I hopped on Facebook and said, okay, Facebook land, here's the deal. I realize that, I hate to yell at people who've showed up. Like, when you go to a business meeting and the person running it is yelling at the people who showed up because he's mad about the people who didn't show up. And it's like, just, dude, get it together. These people showed up.
Yeah.
So I posted on Facebook, and it was ultimately... goodbye, Facebook. Like, I'm done. I'm not going to market on Facebook anymore. Thank you to the people who have been so kind and who showed up for me and who've bought the book and left reviews, and I love it. I know not everybody's in a position to do that. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the people who... So it was really like you know what? Sayonara. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're never going to support me, no matter what I become or what I do. You're always going to see me as this 14-year-old screw-up who... whatever. Like, big $20 coming out of your pocket, you're right. That's a lot to ask. And God knows I'm a miserable bastard and I don't support anybody in the arts or in their creative endeavors. So I really deserve that kind of treatment.
Sarcasm.
It's very thick. I'm laying it on very thick here. So it was really like, I don't know if it was a breakdown or a breakthrough, because what I saw when I actually sat down and looked in the mirror was Facebook is like an abusive relationship that I'm trying to get out of. It's like 1,600 people, 1,600 connections on there of folks who there's a lot of support. And then there's also about 1,400 people who just scroll, observe, never engage, never say anything. Actually, every now and then we'll put a sarcastic comment on it, like, how much did you have to stalk him to get him on your show? Or, just horrible things that stick in my craw for the rest of my life. There was one where like I was smiling really big because it was like the happiest moment of my life, and someone said something about the size of my mouth or my teeth or something like that, and it was like, I'm sorry your life is so miserable that somebody smiling rubs you the wrong way.
Joy.
But it's like so if I stay stuck in Facebook land for the rest of my life, like that's as far as I'm going to go. That's it. There will be no change. So selling on Facebook is also very safe in that I will never find out if I have what it takes to be a successful writer.
With strangers that don't know you already.
So that's the idea. Every single person that's ever bought a book of mine and left a review knew me. They either spent some time with me, knew me at some point in my life. And so essentially what it comes down to is the books that you see that I've made on Amazon, all the sales are from people that I've known, which is like kind of not fair. When you how do I know, like you said about feedback? I mean, the ultimate feedback is, did somebody buy your next book, or did somebody leave a review or whatever?
Yeah.
But I'm talking to people who have already known me. So it's not really based on the writing. It's based on, I know you had a rough childhood, or I feel bad about the baby you lost, or sorry, the thing didn't work out for you. So it's not really based in, is the writing any good? Which is ultimately what I want to be doing. Like, if I'm putting stuff out there, how would I know? So it's not really, it's like doing a concert in your living room. Like, of course your kids are going to clap, but that's not really,
Yeah.
I mean, do you want people who are out touring and selling out stadiums who can only make people in their living room laugh? Like, no, you want people who are tested and who've made audiences laugh and can win over a hard room. And
yep.
I mean, that's what you want entertaining you. This is who you want, like, putting books on shelves and, you know, in the, I mean, actually, now that I think about it, the books are almost sold out at all the bookstores. I don't know who bought those.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
But they can't leave reviews on Amazon, so there's no way so the feedback loop is not there. So what I sat down with today, so I did the Facebook post, and it was like a couple of minutes, and I offered for people that have bought the book in the past and left a review, I offered them a Famous Sexy Writer shirt or a mug, whichever they want, and as a thank you gift, not as a what do you call it?
Like a bribe.
Not a bribe. It's for after the fact. It's for the people who have already done that, and it's a very short list. There's lots of book sales, but as far as the people who follow through and left a review and things like that, that's a very short list. So I was quite happy to do that. But I did notice that there were a few people who clicked reactions on the video that have been watching me since we were, teenagers. Have never showed up at my shows. They've never commented on my songs. They've never bought a book, ever. And it's like, you know what? I might clean out clean out the friends list, because it's like, you know what? I'm not here. I'm not a zoo animal.
So
I'm working my ass off, actually, and it's very hard to be vulnerable and creative and to put stuff out there, and I don't know where I'm going with that. But anyway, that wasn't the marketing thing. That was just the thing I did earlier today. What were you going to say?
Just a little thing that, like, Facebook itself is, like, we talked to a local author, Ida. What was her last name? We talked to a local author the other day at one of those book signings.
Linehan Young.
Yeah, Ida Linehan Young.
Yep.
And she uses Facebook a lot.
Yep.
And she is really successful with her Facebook because she uses an author page, and it's people that, it's not her friends and family, like only her friends and family. Like so you're talking about
so she has an author page that's for her books.
Yeah, and you're talking
this
about,
is not her personal
selling
page.
to your friends list. Like you're
Yep.
the people on your personal
Right.
Facebook that's your friends and family that you
Right.
grew up with or worked with or whatever.
Yep.
But like, I think there's another side of Facebook where it's like, if you're using it as a page or as a, an organization
Entity.
or professional kind of thing,
Yep.
then that's marketing. That's a different list of people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel uncomfortable now
So
that I said all that stuff.
But it's not. But I'm saying it's.
So
not,
I posted a video on my personal page. It's not a public video. It's really intended for
your friends list.
It's intended to thank the handful of people that have bought the book and left reviews. I completely understand. Sometimes it's hard to come by a few extra dollars. Things are tough. I get that. We know that I'm not talking about those folks. We know, like, I'm not that much of a jerk that I'm like, oh, I can't believe people ever did. But like, you take somebody that I was like, say, best friends with when I was 12, who, left a little reaction on my video today. Like, where have you been? And here, okay, next step to this. This is for the grace of Joe. So I'm going to do a little 30-second here. This episode of Are You Mad at Me was brought to you by For the Grace of Joe by Vicky Morgan and Josh Morgan. It is a book about the journey of a baby who had trisomy 13 and was stillborn at 6.5 months and was pretty hard on his parents. But we came out the other side. We wrote a book together, and it's a whole lot of mental health help that's in there, and all the holistic things that we did to survive it and to save our marriage through it. There's your 30-second clip. So I'm reminded of a clip from Pretty Woman. Okay. So during the movie, Julia Roberts goes to a party with Richard Gere, and it's all his, society friends, right? And so after the party, they're like coming home in the car or they're at the hotel or whatever. And she says, so those are your friends? And he said, they're people that I hang out with. And she said, well, no wonder. And he said, no wonder what? She said, no wonder you came looking for me. So here's where I gave myself a little grace, pardon the pun. If I had felt like I was loved and supported during the loss of this baby, there would never have been a book. So thank you to the people who acted like nothing was happening or were relieved that the baby died because it wasn't a burden on the healthcare system, which is what a few people told me. A few people told me, well, now you can start over. There were some real harsh things that were said that broke my heart. And writing the book helped me heal from those it's not just the loss, it's the broken hearts from the people that run out on you, that aren't there. And it's not their responsibility to take care of me. Who am I kidding? Like, that's not anybody's job. But it also was an experience that I had. And I think when I open that door to other moms and parents who have been there, it makes it okay for them to tell their stories. Not just mine. It makes it okay for them to tell theirs because they go, you know what? So you listen to 1,000 other podcasts, and are any of them about loss? I don't know. Are any of them about writing about your loss? I don't know. But I know there's at least one in your day, if you're listening to this, that you know that there's at least one person on this planet that benefited from sharing her story.
Right.
And
that's huge.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I looked at this book with a little more kindness, and I thought I do have some marketing ideas for it that I hadn't really considered, and I'm going to big shout out to my friend Hannah, who sent me a text last week after the podcast and gave me a list of ideas, and it blossomed from there. And so Hannah, keep an eye out for the stuff that I'm going to keep you in the loop on all of it. But it was a really beautiful idea, and it came from a place of, I hear you and I see you, and I think from an outside perspective, I think this could help. And it did. It planted the seeds. She also told me to get some rest and take some time. And I did that too, because internet friends, I mean, who knew? This was a stranger to me not that long ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm getting this heart-to-heart advice and compassion from a stranger on the internet. I mean,
who also bought one of your books.
Yeah. But
I mean, that's like, you know, like that's that pool, like your clients can become your friends, you know what I mean?
And that's an important sentence. Your friends are not your clients, but you can get clients, not calling Hannah a client, but I mean, but your clients can become your friends because they know you. So there's people that we've self-published for, friends for life, because we've been in the trenches, we've done the books, and that's not to say, I don't know if that's the only thing I'm going to do. I don't know if it's just self-publishing consulting. I don't know. But I know that when you meet somebody on the same frequency, it like all the other stuff falls into place. And it's like, oh, we connected in this real way. And so now I've got this friend that, oh my God, if she called me tomorrow and said, I killed somebody, I'd say, I'll get the shovel. That's where we are. And like, would I say that about the friend from, junior high that is just watching my life? I mean, we're getting very personal here. Nobody needs to know about who I'm talking about. It just says a lot that Richard Gere would never have gone looking for Julia Roberts in the movie if not for the life that he had.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And so I got a chapter in the new book about selling to your friends and family, and maybe they're not your friends. Maybe there's a little bit of reflection that goes on after you've done a creative thing. You learn a lot. And the creative process is not just about, hey, I have a song out now, or hey, I have a play or a sculpture or a painting or a book. It's you become a new person. And sometimes that new person has outgrown the people who, stepped on your neck when you were trying to breathe. Is that harsh? I don't know. Anyway, got some ideas over the next little while that we're going to work on that I'm very, very excited about, because I think it's going to connect the stories in this book with the people who would benefit from them. And I don't care. I'll send free copies. I don't care. It's not about sales. It's about connecting. And the reason I wrote the books, both of them, and all three of them really. And here's what I love about me. You ready for that?
Let's hear it.
Are you ready for that kind of self-confidence? Here's something that I love about me. There's a lot of stuff in this first book that there were some pretty bad experiences. And I struggle with, should I share them? Should I put this name in? Should I talk about this hospital? Should I talk about this genetic counselor? Should I talk about this other, cardiologist who was doing an ultrasound on me and, was inappropriate in the room and there was nobody around to see it? Like, should I tell those stories? Like, well, the only people that would benefit from that are people who have been there or who have their own stories and they're wondering if it's okay to tell them. And then you take this book, How to Fail at Documentary Filmmaking. Should I do an ad for the documentary filmmaking?
We could say that. Well, that'll be next week's sponsor.
All right. Well, I'm sitting right here.
Do it.
This episode of Are You Mad at Me is brought to you by... Let me start over. This episode of Are You Mad at Me is brought to you by How to Fail at Documentary Filmmaking by Vicki Morgan. It's the story of a woman who was in her 40s and was making films and TV shows, living in the United States and Canada, and did a whole bunch of community TV and documentary films, and even did a series for a national broadcaster. She also did a series for a national broadcaster that got turned down flat. And that was called How to Fail at Documentary Filmmaking. And so this book is about how that woman went on to become a happy folk musician. So there you go. But here's what I like about both of these books. In both of these books, there are stories of like, oh, this guy did me dirty, this is whatever. But I'm also a very passionate person when I love things. And so I think there's a mix there, like a sweet and salty mix of, first of all, for me to say something about somebody or some organization or something, like it like they have to push a lot for me to actually,
Yeah, that's
like,
fair.
I'm not just going around angry. Like, I love Mark Maron, but he's kind of like on edge all the time. I don't know if that's true. He's probably,
His character anyway.
he's probably the same way. Like, it probably takes a lot to get him going. But I feel like it takes a lot to really hurt me to a point where I would speak out. Excuse me. And the opposite is when I love something, I mean, I go full on. There is no halfway. I adore Alan Doyle. I adore Timothy Oliphant. I don't know anything about him. Josh Jackson is my hero. Nate Bargatze, I mean, if there was a fund right now to build a statue dedicated to Nate Bargatze, I mean, I'd sign up to wash the bird shit off of it every day. I just love what I love something. I love it completely. And I feel bad for people that don't feel that kind of like completely in love with a person's energy and with what they're doing in the world. And of course, you know, sometimes you kind of get it wrong. Like I was a big fan of Louis C.K., you know, turned out to be a piece of shit. Well, whatever. Like they're not all winners, but like there are people like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like, I think there's a mixture there. And I think like, I don't think at this age, I'm going to go, you know what? Turns out I'm just a really nice person. I'm just going to turn the other cheek. Like, no. But I also, you know, I create the environment that I live in. So I also surround myself with 1,600 friends on Facebook who, you know, will kind of watch you fall down on your face or fall off your skateboard and laugh at you. Not all of them. I'm not saying that in the slightest. But there's a lot of them who really, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, what do you get out of this? Like, I don't understand. I mean, I guess I'll see myself out, or, you know, sometimes the trash takes itself out.
Yeah.
That sounds really harsh and judgmental, but I really mean it so sincerely. Like, some people suck. They're good people. They have their own lives. They have their own concerns. But they're just trash in my life.
It's not you, yeah.
They're just trash to me. And that's okay. I'm not nice to everybody either. But I think you get to choose. You get to cleanse your life. And God, I sound like a Nazi there saying cleansing your life, but that's not what I meant.
I didn't take it that way.
Just trigger words. But like there is like you clean out your cupboards every now and then and you go, you know what, some of these people aren't the best for my self-esteem or my mental health.
100%.
And you know, but it is kind of the same list. When I look back, it's kind of the same list of people that, where were they when we lost a baby? Where were we when the documentary was going upside down? Like, where was the, you know, well, like and I think the bad thing about social media is you feel like you're putting it all out there and everybody must know. And I think a lot of them do. And that's just where they are. And you can't, you can put out a little beacon every now and then and say, hey, there's a boat over here in distress and I need help. And there's going to be people who show up to help. And there's going to be people who go, sorry, I can't go over there because she'll drag me down with her. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all I need to do is survive. And then I can help other people when I'm out of the water. Like, yep. And I have zero intention of becoming a bitter person who, you know, stops loving people. But I think sometimes you need to cut away the barnacles that are weighing you down in the water. I mean, that's a lot of metaphors. I'm just talking on my ass right now. But I think letting go of some of that dead weight is very important because it weighs you down and it keeps you from loving people. So I'm not religious, but I think I got some religion in there somewhere. I think there's something to that. I think essentially, like, I know there's buildings and organizations and, you know, donation bowls and all those kinds, but I think essentially at the core of a lot of these organizations is love each other. And if you've got stuff in your life that keeps you from loving people, it might be a problem. And so maybe it comes out in a podcast like me talking bad about people, but you know, it's to a good end. It's like, this doesn't feel good. And that is not a judgment about how.
Isn't that more talking good about yourself?
I don't know. Like I definitely have concerns that part of my charm is that I'm self-deprecating and, you know, most of the time, you know, desperate for love and attention. And my fear is that if I ever was able to take care of myself and didn't need everybody's love and attention, that they wouldn't like me as much. And so I think that's accurate. I don't think I'm off base with that. I think there are people who definitely feel better about their own lives seeing mine imploding. And it's not imploding, but, you know. But when I'm on there trying to like hawk $20 t-shirts, obviously things aren't going swimmingly. You know, someone said, "Oh, are you delivering those shirts?" Like, no, asshole, I don't have a car. Did you not see the last 15 podcasts? But so, I mean, I'm happy, but I'm ready for the next part. And so the next part is, you know, I got the Dale Carnegie book up on my shelf. Of course I do. You know, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it comes down to introducing yourself to strangers. And so it's not about, here's a post on Instagram to tell you about, I know I talked about this a couple of weeks ago about that artist lady that I saw who was, reintroducing herself and talking about how she met her hockey husband and all that stuff. Like, I don't think that I need to come up with new copy. I think the books speak for themselves. And that's pretty much where I'm headed with sharing parts of the books to let people into my life and let them into my heart. And someone said to me a long time ago, how do you share your heart with the world? And that person's not in my life anymore, but that stuck with me because she shared a piece of her heart with me. And so I think it's important to figure out what you have to offer and to love yourself just enough. It doesn't need to be 80% of the time. It needs to be a little bit more than half for the scale to tip.
Yeah.
For it to start going your way a little bit better. And I think just recognizing some of these things, like if you went to a buffet and there was a bunch of foods there that you're allergic to, you don't need to put them on your plate. You don't need to hope that it doesn't touch off the food and give you an allergic reaction. You can just don't put it on your plate. Go to the other, life is a buffet. There's lots of options. There's lots of people out there. And I think the longer you stop and stare at that closed door, the more people you're missing out on that, there's people driving by our house right now going, oh, Jesus, I don't want to go over there because there's look at all those cop cars in the driveway. Metaphorically speaking, there's no cop cars. But it really is, look at the mess that's going on in that person's life. Look what she has around her. Look how desperate she is and how hard she has to try to get a little bit of attention. Whereas if you are driving past and my lawn is clean and there's a mariachi band out there and there's a, Canada Day banner and, cake and lemonade and we're out playing guitars with the mariachi band and we're wearing party hats. Those are happy people. I would want to be part of those people's lives.
Yeah.
But it's, you kind of, you get back what you're putting out. And I'm tired of putting out, please don't hire me. I'm not worth it. Don't read my books. I'm tired of it. And I know that the people that have come, have been kind of around match that energy. They believe it too. They believe my stuff is shit. They believe, oh, she's just looking for attention. Up until now, you matched my energy. That's what I believed about myself. That's not going to fit anymore.
Yeah.
And for the people who are doing good things, living courageous lives, and being brave with their life, there's going to be lots of room for them.
Yeah.
And for the folks who aren't, they know who they are. They're not listening to this. That's the funny thing. But if they creep a little bit, they ever wonder, because my bio on Facebook is, I overshare my podcast every week, and I'm probably talking about you on there. And I'm sure they go, oh, she wouldn't talk about me.
No.
Yeah, because we were such good friends. That's what's funny. But you just evolve, I think. When I look back, I've always had a best friend. My whole life, I've always had it. There's always been someone that I'm super close to. But for the last long time, it's been you. So, I guess that's not really, I don't know.
Sorry about that.
It's been lovely. But I think that neediness that people got used to in my life, I was married before. It was a terrible relationship. And that was a few years of my life that I'll never get back. And during that time, I attracted some stuff into my life that was not great. And I still haven't really cut the ties and moved on. And there's still some people hanging around and stuff like that are, haven't.
Time to clean out the cupboards again.
Yeah, it really is. And I think there's kind of we kind of broadcast also that we don't really need people. I think we've gotten so used to getting knocked around that we are kind of we're fine on our own. It's not worth it. But I think I don't think that's true anymore. I want people around and I want friends that we can celebrate things with and celebrate their victories and, be around like-minded people, because it gets kind of lonely. And I think as long as you're surrounded by people who aren't your people, there's just a crowd around you, and it's I can't even someone could be my next best friend, and they're going to just pass right on by because there's all these
right.
cluster around me of
you get too much going on.
People that don't even like me very much, and that's okay up until now, up until right this minute. It's not okay anymore with me, and so in the process of marketing. And coming to these conclusions for my own products, because they're products. They're not at this point, now that they're finished and I hit publish and they're off now and there's an actual paper copy of them, it becomes a product. And so what do you do with it now? Because these are things that I gave birth to,
yep.
Right? They didn't exist before. And now they do. And so someone will love them.
That's right.
And if I start the ball rolling with, I love them.
You could be the one.
Writing for me has been such a companion for my whole life. There's always been like a best friend on paper where I can feel better, like I can write and, be silly and imagine and pretend and complain and whatever. And there's nobody there to say back the stuff that I would say to myself in my mind. Like on paper, like I wouldn't even write down the things that I think about myself. So it's like a little more of a buffer. So I find writing to be a really nice companion. And I also feel like the connection that you get from writing stuff and sharing it with people is just beautiful. It's just magic. Like, it really is.
Yep.
So, people have gifts, and it's...
it's important to like yourself to share them.
I think if you have a gift, it's kind of you don't owe it to anybody to share it, but I think that's the path for you. Like, that's how you can connect with people the easiest.
Right.
And you can go the hard way. You can learn how to play trumpet and connect with all the trumpeters, whatever. But if you're good at something and people resonate with it, that's your path. And so I'm going to take the little kernels I got from my little friend group who bought the books and told me they were good, and I'm going to venture out and make them proud and venture out with the strangers and see, wish me luck, because it is
good luck, honey.
Terrifying. But that's where we are. Thank you. But I'm done with my Facebook personal page with marketing to my friends list, because that's for selling life insurance, and it's kind of scummy. But like shedding some of that stuff too. Like, it's okay to do marketing, but if it's feeling exhausting, if it tires you out, then you're probably putting it in the wrong spaces.
True.
Because there's lots of there's no excuse for not marketing in this day and age. There are so many free platforms between YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Threads, Substack, Reddit. Flipty. What is it?
Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yes. And then there's also Substack and Threads, and there's a whole bunch of others, Reddit. There's a whole bunch. And these are all free platforms. And it's there's ways to do it. So we'll talk about that more as the weeks go on, about how to organically engage with stuff, because I've been doing a lot of that. You get that, like, a lot of the marketing books will tell you like how to do that. Try to get on all those podcasts and try to get an influencer to talk about your stuff and engage on Facebook groups. And what you see when you go on these groups is, I just wrote a book and here's where you can find it. Like, blech, get out. Nobody wants anybody in the group. But there are groups dedicated to your topics.
Yeah.
And so a couple of little things that I learned this past few weeks. Like, so if I was on a loss group, for example, they're not all created equal. If you're on a group that's dedicated to loss and recovery, if you go on there and say, oh, I talk about this in my book, get out. Nobody wants to hear about that. I see women going on there and saying, look, I'm a medium. I can help you talk to your dead baby. Blech. I don't know how they're allowed in there. Turns out a lot of them are the moderators or the admins for the groups that they started. So you really need to be careful. But there are other places, like I'm on a lot of writing help books, like a KDP help support pages and stuff like that. And so lots and lots of, tens and tens of thousands of people on there. And some people really ask organic questions. Like, if I try this with my cover, or if I, someone put on, bless their heart, they put on the other day, I just got my first sale. And I'm like, your first sale? And here I am over here complaining about how low my numbers are. Like,
yeah. And
this person has written their first and sold their first copy of their first book. And it's like, that's what it's about. That's the beautiful thing. Because it is, I don't know if that was, their cousin that bought it or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know their life. But it is, so when you engage organically like that, I put advice on for somebody the other day, and I said, she was saying, how do you engage and how do you market and stuff? And so my suggestion was, when you put comments, she had written a book about people with, she has celiac disease. And so she wrote a book about all these different tips and tricks for, enjoying your life when you have celiac disease. And so I suggested join some groups that are dedicated to that topic. And then when a topic comes up that you know about, say what you know, and then put in your bio on Facebook a link to your book. So you're not putting it in the group.
It's indirect. Yeah.
Well, I click, sometimes when somebody puts something really funny on an Amy Poehler clip or whatever, I'll click on their page and say, what's this? That was pretty funny what they said. I'm going to go see what they're about.
What else you got?
Exactly. So that's how I found like Elise Myers and Call Me Chris and a lot of my favorite whatever the YouTubers.
Creators.
But be prepared that someone might go check out your page. They might check out your website. They might go follow you on Amazon, on your author page or whatever. And
you can do that link in bio thing. It's free. There's a free version of it.
Completely
and
free.
You can put like, so it's just a link in your bio, and then you can put like, here's my TikTok, here's my Instagram.
Where are you talking
LinkedIn.
about? Instagram? There's a link tree on Instagram.
No. There's an actual website called Link in Bio, and you just go sign up for it for free, and they give and then you have a whole page of all your links, and then you take that one link and put it in your Instagram bio or your Facebook about or whatever.
So I feel like that would appeal to people your age and under. There are people my age who are like, "What's that now?" So it's easier if you don't have a whole list of links. So I would suggest, like for me, I have a bunch of books now listed under my Amazon author page. So I'm not going to send them to one book on Amazon. I'm going to send them to my author page, which has all my books available. So like give some thought to that, to the people that like Ida Linehan Young she has an author page, and her demographic is between 40 and 80. And so she's right in her zone. She can put links on Facebook, and the people following her page will be able to follow the links. And again, a lot of these platforms aren't great with links. This is stuff that you know, thankfully we have some younger friends who tell us things like that, and you pick up advice along the way, and I'm happy to pass that along because it's working for me. I'm getting to a place where my algorithms are bringing me stuff that I want to see. Yeah. I'm improving my own health and well-being, and which ripples out. When I'm happy, Josh is happy. Is your life not a little bit more pleasant when I'm happy?
Happy wife, happy life.
Right. And then my kids are happier. Not that I'm beating them up or something or abusing them when I'm not happy, but I mean, there's definitely a different feeling in the house when I walk into the kitchen and I'm dancing around, and they'll be like, "Mom, are you okay? Like, are you, have you snapped? Like, are you dancing because, you're too sad?"
It's today the day.
What day?
You snapped.
Snapped. There, she finally snapped. It's because of coming. The podcast isn't over yet. But there's definitely a different feeling in the room where, like, if they're having something going on in their life, if I'm in a good mood or if I'm in a good place in my life, I can give them better, more positive, love life kind of advice instead of, that's it, everybody's a bastard. You can't trust anybody. Like, I don't want to live like that. I don't want that to be their life either. So when I work on my stuff and I feel like the world is a happy place that you can enjoy, and that's, stuff usually works out for you, then I'm passing that on to them. And so that at least they have that reference years from now when they're out on their own. And, I don't know where we are in this scenario. We're behind them in an RV, following them everywhere they go.
Yeah, next door.
Yeah, literally in the RV next to them. But like, I want them to have that framework of, stuff happened to my parents, and they managed, they got through. And how did they do it? They did it by loving each other and holding hands and, spending time together and preparing meals together and speaking respectfully to each other and not going to bed angry. There's lots of little tips. Like, they've seen stuff. Like, they walk in the room and they see us cuddled up watching TV, and it's like, that's what parents do. It's not what my parents did, and it's not what your parents did. So we're at least a little bit better than the generation we grew up with, right? Yeah. Where it was, it just wasn't like that. And that's just how things were. And their generation was a little better than the one before theirs. And, our kids will be even better off than we are, emotionally and hopefully, all those things. So, but I like to give them that good framework. And I feel like the work is important and it's worth doing, because you can stay in the same rut all the time and make the same, Julie Cameron is the best example I can think of. When she talks about it in The Artist Way, she talks about writing in your journal every day for 12 weeks. And she said around 8 weeks is when you're, allowed to look back and see what you've been writing. Mm-hmm. And around 2 months, this is like a snapshot of your life. This is really representation probably of the last 8 years of your life. And you look at it and you go, oh my God, I complain about the same stuff over and over. And maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you go, you know what, journaling's not for me. And you just put it away and that's it. Okay, you've made your choice. And you can always come back to it. But I think there comes a point where you go, this is not good enough for me anymore. I want to feel better than what I have been feeling. And if you're doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. You're creating your life. Right. However bad it is or however good it is, you are creating your environment with your thoughts and with your actions. And if you keep doing the same shit, you're going to keep getting the same shit. That's just how it, that's just, what's the word? Not physics. There's one of those, is it physics?
I think so.
Yeah. There's like laws of physics that's how it is. Water attracts its own, seeks its own level. There's all these laws of the universe that you just can't argue with them. You can say it's all bull and woo-woo and all that stuff, but like tell that to the 19 prescriptions you have in your closet or in your medicine cabinet because you have ulcers and holes coming out of you and stuff sprouting out of you and, this is going bad and these are falling apart and I can't walk the length of myself. Like, yeah. Tell that to your cells that things are going okay and you're okay just the way you are. Like, this is like, why would you're not here to be miserable. Yeah. I don't care what you believe in. Nobody's on this planet to be miserable. There's no one signs a contract when they come in and say, I'm going to be an example to everybody else by how miserable my life is. Like, that's not, if it is, sign me up. Get me out of here right now if that's the case. Because I don't think that's true. I think you're here to be happy as long as you're not hurting people.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy and take a leap and try a little bit of courage. And, I think that's kind of a funny thing. Because in my lifetime, I have lost touch with people from time to time. And it's funny that when they like have one of those moments, I'll get an email saying, guess what? I'm lesbian. I'm out of the closet. Mm-hmm. I'm going to live a patchouli life from now on, and I don't care who likes it. I'm going to let my gray hair grow out, and this actually happened. This was an actual email from somebody who had turned on me, didn't want me in their life, just whatever. I had no idea why. And then years later, I get this email saying, guess what? I just started seeing a woman. I'm a lesbian. Like, okay, good for you. That's fantastic. But it was like, why are you telling me? Like, well, okay, great. That's fantastic. But it was when this person got happy, I was one of the first messages.
Yeah, of course.
But do you know how long I spent thinking that I had done something to that person? Sometimes your joy and your happiness rubs people the wrong way. And just saying that probably rubs people the wrong way hearing it, but like it's kind of true. Like when you hear, over this past week, I've noticed a few times like the window's been open and it's a really nice, weather's been really great. And I'll hear like kids playing out in the backyard and I just start to feel this like rage of where are their parents? Why aren't they making those kids be quiet? Why are they playing their music so loud? And it's like, wow, what a miserable old bag. Like, and so I'm recognizing like they're getting on my nerves because they're happy.
So
that's on me.
Yeah.
So like the person that's coming out yelling, get off my lawn, they're miserable. But like if you can go, whew, man, I can do some work. I can feel a little bit better because they're out enjoying their lives. They have their, Taylor Swift playlist going loud because it's a sunny, beautiful day. And it's not always like that here. And they're enjoying some really good music. And then I started listening to the music they were playing. And I was like, I love this song.
Mm-hmm.
My God, they're right. It's a beautiful day. Actually, the sound of the kids playing, kind of nice. My kids are a little too old to be out doing the squealy, giggly laughter in the little kiddie pool.
The water balloons.
And stuff. But it's the same when we hear the kids. When they're like, up really late talking and giggling and telling each other stories and making each other laugh. And I was like, oh my God, go to bed. And it's like, you know what? That's the sound of joy. And I'm going to go back to it again. There's a story in For the Grace of Joe where we were in Walmart just after we had lost Joe. And we had a 2-year-old in the cart. I think we just had Henry at the time. But he was just laughing and we were just making faces and goofing around in the middle of Walmart in South Portland, Maine. And this lady, let's call her a lady, was with a couple of people and they were in the next aisle over and she yells out, can you shut up your kid? She swore. I'm not going to put that in there. It got real ugly. It got real ugly.
But Henry was happy. It was
the sound of it was the sound of a happy kid.
He wasn't screaming or being crazy or
no.
That is a big deal. But
yeah, give people a break. Kids have tantrums too, but he was just happy and laughing in the middle of a store and this old witch actually, I know lots of people who do that kind of stuff and they're lovely people. It was just a miserable person who the sound of my son laughing irritated her. And I used some colorful language and yelled back over the aisle. And then I bolted out of Walmart because she was a big lady and her friends were big and mean and looked like they had just gotten out of jail. So we took off out of Walmart pretty fast, but not before I swore back at her and told her where to go and where she could put her sunshine. But those are that was one of those things that losing Joe shaped me in a big way where like the sounds of laughter shouldn't get on your nerves. You really need to check. I think I check myself when joyful sounds make me irritated. I check myself and go, you know what? This is a healthy kid. This is a healthy sound. This is healthy kids playing
Maybe
outside.
I should eat.
Maybe I need a nap.
Maybe I should get some
need
water.
a snack. Maybe I need to work on myself a little tiny bit more because there's enough. Like there is really a lot of stuff to be happy about when you look around. And I mean, maybe you don't feel like that. Maybe that hearing that right now is getting right on your nerves. But I can tell you, you're a couple of thoughts away from feeling better.
Yep.
There's always something. There's always an opportunity in every single thing that happens. There's an opportunity, and like maybe it looks like the end of the rope or end of the road for you. Like maybe you're in a bad relationship. Maybe you're in a bad job that you hate. Or maybe you just lost your job and you think it's the worst thing in the world. And it turns out you listen to all these stories. And I love this because it shows up in my algorithm constantly. It's the thing that I thought was the worst tragedy in my life turned out to be fill in the blank right there. It's an opportunity to move on to the next thing. So, you know, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to thank everybody that got me to that point. I'm going to give a bigger thanks to the people who actually show up with love and compassion and support. And I would like to think that I send that back out. But, you know, it all happens for a reason. I don't think there's a plan. I think there's like we're all given these conscious brains to process as something happens. And like the plan is to be happy. There's no like, oh, I was meant to be a trombone player or a beekeeper or whatever. I think you're here to be happy. Yeah. And when you find what makes you happy, do that thing. And when it doesn't make you happy anymore, do something else that makes you happy. But you really get to pick. And I think that's one of the worst things you could say to somebody is that they don't have any choices, but because you always do. I haven't seen it yet, and I think I've seen some pretty tragic stuff. I don't think there's ever like, you have no options. There's always options. Yep. And that's a nice feeling. Blah 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 blah.
Final thoughts?
Yes. A number of years ago, we were invited to play at a women's shelter here in St. John's across the road. So we lived on the blocks. I lived on Vickers Avenue, and we were playing at the women's shelter on Cashin Avenue, which has a walk-in.
You lived there when you were little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where it is now is a women's shelter has like walk-in clinic hours where you can actually, it's called a drop-in center. Like there's actually times during the week where you can drop in with no appointment and talk to a licensed counselor. So little shout out to them. They do some amazing work. We were invited, my friend Deanne was doing a work term there, and she invited us to play at like this garden party that they were doing for the women that were staying there. And I got to play across the road from a house that I was abused in. And it was like one of those full circle moments of if I had lived in that house that at that moment and had the window open, she would have heard the band that I'm like, it was close enough that I would have heard it from my window, from the house that I lived in when I was, 7. And I looked around at the women that were at that shelter who, left some of their living situations with the clothes on their back, had no idea what they were going to do, maybe no education, maybe no resources and all that stuff. And they still had the courage to leave and to take that step, even though it was probably I don't know what they left behind. But I think one of the best things that you can possibly say to anybody, especially in a situation like that, is that you have options. And it's true. There are always options. One of them is to kill yourself. Full disclosure,
it's an option.
It's always an option.
Yeah.
There is also an option to get out or to make it better there's always something. And I don't have an answer for every single.
Move towards being happy.
There are, sometimes it turns your life upside down in the process, but you can always be happier.
Yeah.
There's always ways to get out. And I think that's possible for absolutely anybody. And I don't think there's a situation. And if you can think of one, if you can say, yeah, but what if you got a lifetime in prison? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. There's a library probably in the prison. You could, become a lawyer. I've seen that happen in movies.
Make some friends.
Yeah, just go up and punch the biggest guy in the yard and make him your bitch. And, you could be the top dog. Wentworth is available on Netflix. I mean, there's something to be happy about right there. So I think for final thoughts, it would be, I think even when you're on top of the world, there's always stuff that can make you happy. I don't care where you are in your life, there's always stuff, and you deserve to be happy. And so maybe that's all I can tell you is you deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
And just maybe that thought is enough to say, I'm going to pass it back to you. You have it. You have the answers. The answers are available to you. You might not know what they are right now, but the answers are available to you. And I think starting off with the thought, I deserve to be happy. You carry that with you.
Yeah.
Take that with. That's my little nugget for this week.
Fantastic.
It's been I'm really grateful for the people that listen to this podcast. I know it's a slow burn, but it's worth it. Like, and I encourage everybody, don't buy that book. I mean, I told you all the best parts of it. Don't buy the book about the podcasting thing because it doesn't have any like actual stuff that'll help you get going. But like there are YouTube videos.
Not your book.
Oh my God, no, buy mine, of course.
Like, why are you telling people not to buy your book?
No, the podcasting book. There are tutorials online for every single bit of everything that we've ever done, whether it's publishing or marketing or like there's ChatGPT.
That's mostly how we learned.
Yeah, it's all, most of it is self-taught, which is funny for all the universities that have invested in us so much for the degrees. But most of the stuff we learn that brings us joy is self-taught and YouTube videos and tutorials. So, but look it up. You're capable of learning. If you're listening to this, you're capable of learning anything.
That's right.
Right? And, there you go. Any final thoughts from you, Josh Morgan?
My final thoughts, you mentioned church, what do you call tithe plate? I always wondered when I was a kid, I don't know if you had the same ones in Catholic churches, but the tithe plate that's in every church when I was growing up is literally just a plate. Like it's just, it's fancy. It's got like a little piece of carpet inside it. It's like gold or whatever, but it's like a plate. Like if you're passing this around, people are putting change, they're putting bills, or putting checks in it. Like find a better receptacle. Like a little box, like one of those voting boxes.
Like a bowl?
With a slot in the top. You know what I mean? Like pass around something that you tip it over a little bit, everything's on the floor. That seemed like the worst design for collecting money. Collection plate, that's what it is. I always thought, why are you passing around this barbecue plate?
It's a charger plate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, question for you. Was it an actual... did they pass the plate itself, or how was it passed from person to person?
There were deacons that would... depending on the size of the church, that would get on the and they'd pass it down, and they'd pass it to the next guy would take it to the next.
So it's an actual plate. Like I would pass you
a plate,
just imagine this is a plate. So what do you do with this? You get it and you just put money in it and pass it on? Okay. So in the Catholic Church, we have like a little basket and there's a plate in it, but it's like more decorative. And there's a basket with a real big stick on it. And you pass it down, like it goes down in front of like about 6 or 7 people, and then they pull it back out.
So the deacon never lets go of it, or whoever?
Well, we never called them deacons.
Well, whoever's holding it he doesn't pass it to the person?
Yeah, but it's up on a pole. So it's a flat plate on a pole. So if the guy who, I don't know, maybe was drunk the night before, which I know you could still almost get a contact high from the smell of the boot, which is great because we're good people, right? But the plate would come past, and it would pass like 6 or 7 people, and then it would go back out. But there was a stick on the end of it. So the guy holding it, who was pretty hungover, still drunk, had to keep that straight. So if he tipped it even a little bit, you're going to get a tray of change. So I'm just wondering about that because it was a plate on a stick for us.
Yeah, no, not for us. It was literally just a plate, and you pass it down. It was like, why?
Sorry, what's your question? That they should have better receptacles for the donations?
It seems like just a really terrible design for a money receptacle. Like,
who had on their bingo card, who had Josh's thinking about the receptacle for donations at church on their bingo cards, that the Are You Mad at Me bingo game? Because if you did, you just won. You got a couple of free spaces, and that was...
You say, Josh, you don't talk enough on the podcast, and then when I talk, you make fun of me.
Well, it's just kind of...
I'm out of here.
Where are we going with this? Like, what? Tell me more about where is this going?
No, that was it.
That was it? Okay, so...
You mentioned it earlier, and I started thinking about the collection plate when I was a kid, and how I always thought, why a big flat thing for putting stuff on?
Did you feel like flicking it? Like, did you have intrusive thoughts about flicking the plate and it going everywhere?
No, I was nervous that it was going to fall over. I was a nervous little kid, like the church isn't going to get their money because somebody's going to tip this thing over. All the checks are going to fall on the floor, and all the bills and all the coins, and that's it. I'm done. Episode 32, that's a wrap. I have one more thought on that then. You ready? Yeah. Because there's a book that Tina Madigan recommended to me when we were working on her book, and it was Napoleon... No, sorry. She was reading Napoleon Hill, and I found a book called Think and Grow Rich. Nope. It was The Richest Man in Babylon. It's a very, very, very old book. Anyway, very old language, very male-centric, like very, women at home and bare feet and all that stuff. But there was some stuff in there about this guy who, I don't remember all the stories. The point is, there was kind of like a rule of thumb, and I don't know what that reference means. Hopefully it's not anything offensive. There was a rule of thumb that when you get a paycheck or you get a certain amount of money in your hands, that you should put 10% towards your debt, 10% towards savings, 10% towards paying yourself,
and then the rest of it you pay all your bills with it. So the church thing, the tithe thing, is something I didn't know until we met, is that there's a thing in churches that you were involved with there where you donate 10% of your earnings directly to the church. And so is that for like no matter how much somebody makes?
Yeah, oh yeah, it was.
Seriously?
Like,
so if
pre-tax, like no matter what, like I think it might have been 7%. I think that might have been
okay.
like 10%.
And so is there like a receipt at the end of the year to say, like, do you get a tax write-off or something like that?
You probably can.
Okay.
If you ask for it, but you know.
So it's just a percentage of your wage that just goes to the church.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. Anyway, what I'm going to take out of it, is it the non-secular, the one that's non-religious?
Secular.
The secular thought that I'm going to leave everybody with is that in that book, I'm not going to take credit for it, in The Richest Man in Babylon, it said the 10% to charity, 10% to give to, did I say that already? So
No.
10% to debt, 10% to pay yourself, 10% to savings. There might have been something in there about charity, but I don't know. I'd have to go check it. There was something about money that you give out of kindness that comes back to you 10 times over. So I think there's something to that. So if you are, I think we're pretty open-minded folks here on this podcast. Even if you're a person that you might go to church every Sunday, and we don't, but I think there's a lot of value to those ideas of who cares what they do with it. If you're given 10%, that's like energy you're sending out into the world, and it comes back to you. Like kindness comes back. And so even if you're putting it into a church and some minister or priest is driving a, BMW or an Escalade, and he's living in the biggest kind of house and whatever, that's their business. But that idea of giving, like actually giving something just because you have it and somebody else doesn't, like even when you have very, very little.
Putting good energy out there. Yeah.
It's putting good energy out there. And I think there's a lot of value to that. I think it comes back to you. And sometimes being kind to yourself counts for that kindness. I think it's a frequency that you get on where, like, if you love yourself, you're going to be nicer to the people around you. And it's a service to other people to like yourself.
Yeah.
That's where I am. That's where I am this week. And next week, who knows? I might be a serial killer. But, for this week, I think I'm really cluing into taking a little bit of rest, have a snack, get a nap, rest your brain and your body, and be kind to people. And you're on that list of people to be kind to.
Yes,
it's okay to be nice to yourself. Yeah. And that means, if I was walking through life right now with a little boy, holding his hand, walking through a crowd of people, certainly our little boys haven't been that size for a very long time, but if I was responsible for another human being and I was walking through a crowd of people and there were people kicking him in the ankles, or there were people saying, hey, would you like a ride, or would you like some candy, or this sounds really bad, but like, would you like to pet my puppy or whatever? If people are being kind to the kid, we're going to, hey, do you want a free hot dog? We're just about to close up shop and here's some cotton candy we had left over, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I think if you're walking through, like, you need to treat yourself like a person you love. And so if there are people kicking you in the ankles as you walk past, you're going to pick that kid up off the ground and you're going to put him up where he's safe and hold him when he can't. Yeah. So you need to do that for yourself. Like we all have that ability to take care of ourselves, I think. And it's such a shameful thing to be selfish and look out for yourself first and all that stuff. But it's just so important because the people around you benefit when you take care of yourself. And it's a great first step in self-care and value, and it just will feel better, I think you'll see a lot of stuff around that matches your energy when you like yourself, because when you don't like yourself, what you're attracting into your life is more people that go, you're absolutely right, you're nothing.
Yeah, right.
And we're just not here for that.
Yep.
Anyway, that's my sermon for the week, my sermon on the couch.
There you go.
See? There you go. I don't know. I think there's something to it. There might be something there. I think it's just good energy. I think good energy begets good energy. Violence begets violence. It's the opposite. Good energy really brings more good energy into your life. And I'm grateful for people like Miss Hannah, who just saved me this week with that. Oh, it was just amazing. I'm just really grateful because it's good. Like, that's my friend from the internet. Like, that's my internet BFF. We call each other. And it's like, that got through. Like, there's that sound that, got through the noise and made it through. And like, if I hadn't met her, I don't know, just there's something to it. So go back and listen to the episode with Hannah if you haven't, and listen to Blaine. Of course, thanks again to Blaine, Blaine and Kim have been absolutely so supportive, and I'm just really grateful to people like that. I
Yeah.
just like, there's a light. There's always that little light that's there, and it's like, just, you know, you.
And we'll be back next week for episode 33.
Thanks for listening. I'm Vicky Morgan.
I'm Josh Morgan. We'll see you next week.
See ya.